this time on MTV.
My granddad's in the other car. This is the big steer. No, God fights for you, with you, but no, in the end, he wins.
I don't know that I ever doubt God, but I doubt myself pretty regularly. But today, on Inny or Outty, all that glitters is not gold. Is that in the Bible?
Which one of those occupations is not in the Bible?
All right, I'll be a peacekeeper and go with Michael, but against my better judgment.
That we are all just Christians.
Trying not to
cuss.
Mike the Baptist.
Hey, welcome to Mike the Baptist. I'm Mike Baptist. I'll be so the whole program. Glad that you joined us. I'm glad my friend H.D. Jones joined us too. I'm having trouble with the word joined. Joined already. H.D. Jones.
Hey, good to be here with you.
Susan Jones.
Hello.
They are married. I don't know how these cameras work, but the two of them are together, and we're glad you joined us for another episode of Mike the Baptist. We want to say hi especially to our new subscribers. I'm sure there are more new ones since last week, as we've been on a push to get more of you corralled into the nonsense.
This is a hot ticket item.
It's a hot
Absolutely.
ticket item. You don't want to miss out, folks. So hit the subscribe button wherever it is down there and join us for more of them. But anyway, welcome. We're glad to have you. MikeTheBaptist.com is our website. You can go there and look around. Buy a shirt. You can buy a shirt. Buy a coffee mug. I started taping early because Susan still had hers up, so I wanted to get a free advertising there. But anyway, get you a mug, 11 ounce or 14.
They taste pretty good.
Yeah.
They do taste good. They don't come with coffee in them, but email us at comments@MikeTheBaptist.com. Comment on these videos. We'd like to get some discussion started on videos. So
Bring it on.
I started that a couple of weeks ago and already had a couple of radical conversations that I had to delete. But but anyway,
Wow.
sometimes you ask for it and you get it.
Okay.
So, but make the comment. We want to hear from you. What's coming up in the middle of this program, if you're new to this, is in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk about some stuff in the Bible, particularly 1 Samuel what, HD?
Chapter 17.
And it's going to be about what?
David and Goliath, a very familiar story in the
It will
Bible.
be interesting to hear where that goes on Mike the Baptist,
Yep.
but
Yep.
we'll talk about it. It's coming up, so don't go away just yet. Stick around with us. If you want to follow along with the weekly topics that we talk about in the Bible talk portion of Mike the Baptist, there's an app. My home church has an app, and there's like a week-long lesson about these same scriptures that you start on a Monday. There's a daily thing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's all the days
It is.
in daily. And then on Saturday, you can tune in to us Friday night and Saturday, and we'll wreck it all for you.
I told a buddy of mine when I was headed to the studio, I said, pray for me. I said, I've got to go deal with Mike the Baptist and Susan the Heretic.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Bless him.
I'm not going to label you that, though. We'll leave that between you all. But anyway, we'll put it on the screen here about where you can get that app if you want the app. If you're old school and you need something printed, we actually have something printed we can help you with, too. Comments at Mike the Baptist is where you would send an email. But first, we want to visit on the front porch like they did in the old days. We're trying to bring that back. And you know what's going to be great is if we actually get to hear about people that actually started sitting on the front porch. I would be so thrilled and honored that somebody was trying to bring that back, because there's not enough of that happens. Now, y'all live far enough off the road, we wouldn't know you're on the front porch. So
We don't have chairs on our porch.
you don't have chairs, so
We sit on our back porch a lot.
we can't see you, though.
I know. That's why we like it.
Unless we're walking by there, but if we're walking through there. Anyway, on the front porch this week, last week we talked briefly about times we got into it with our siblings. And I was thinking about the siblings things and how we used to take these road trips. Well, I'll just start.
Okay.
My family used to go to Washington State.
Which is, my gosh,
That's a drive.
It's a long drive, and they would go every when school was out. There's a lot of people from my home area in Northwest Arkansas who would go work in the apple orchards. I still don't understand the connection.
Mm-mm.
I looked up once. There's my granddad gave me the name of the orchard farmer, rancher, whatever they call him, who he knew there. and that guy gave us a house to live in, and 2 or 3 families. He had these extra houses, and you go up there, and I needed to look and see what the connection was of orchards in Yakima, Washington, and Northwest Arkansas. But anyway, several people from that area would go and work those orchards. But I say that to say that the way we went out there, I recall them being station wagons. I don't think it would have been like just a regular 4-door car. Station wagon. They would pack that thing full of what you need to kind of supply a little house for a couple or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And the floorboard of the back seat would be packed with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Mama, my grandma, would put quilts over that stuff and the back seat. So it was actually like this flat bed area. And that's where my brother and I rode. It's a wonder we can walk when you think about how hard that would be on your back to travel that long. But we would travel in that. And in those days, in the evening, you would pull over to a roadside park and you would eat out there on a picnic table, but then you would just crawl in your car and sleep.
Wow.
You wouldn't want to do that nowadays, but we would do that. So I'm bringing that up to say that I can recall traveling
Y'all were
as a
kind of
kid
pioneers.
that way. In a way,
Like a covered wagon. You know,
it was.
going out west.
It was actually kind of a covered wagon.
Wow.
Yeah, there's other stories there I'm not going to get into, but that just when we got to talking about that, it triggered that thought. I mean, the other times were just basic, and I was telling HD this in the green room earlier. My folks used to take these Sunday drives,
Oh, yeah.
and my brother and I would be trapped in that back seat while they drove through the country saying, "Old so-and-so lives there, and that's so-and-so's wife's cousin's mother's uncle who..."
Could care less.
Oh, it went on and on and on and
And I'm
on.
car sick, and can we just go home?
Yes, it just took forever. But anyway, that's what came to my mind about being a kid and doing that. I originally I was wondering what you did to occupy the time, but then that grew in my mind to this other just, real sentimental thought I had.
Well,
So,
look at you.
Susan, what did you do when you used to travel as a kid in a car to occupy your time?
Well,
Or if you want to go into a big sentimental journey, you feel
I
so.
don't know. I'll see what I can remember. Like I said last week, I have the 2 older brothers.
Mhm.
So I remember my dad had a yellow Bonneville, a big Bonneville car.
Like a boat, like a yacht.
Really, yeah. So it had a pretty big back seat. And normally, really, all we did that I can remember a whole lot about, our vacation was going to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, which is about 5 or 6 hours from Charlotte. So that's usually where we were going. We didn't take any big trips like across the country or
They
anything.
always got lost.
We always got lost, even though we went to the same place every year, and we always got lost at the same area. I don't know why. but
Interesting.
we did. We did, and Dad would refuse to ask directions. We'd finally stop at the Stuckey's, and yeah, I don't know. We always missed the same exit. It was bizarre. But my position in riding in the big Bonneville, that's just the car I remember. We had station wagons some years and different cars, but that yellow Bonneville is what's in my brain. And my position was to sit between my brothers because they would fight and punch each other and all that. So my position was in between them, and I would take a pillow, and whoever fell asleep, whichever one of them first, I would lean that direction on that brother and sleep part of the way. So sometimes we played some of those games about, I spy this, or we probably played
That smell.
between my 2 brothers, probably so. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it wasn't a huge car ride, just 5 or 6 hours, but I remember breaking down a time or two, and that was always fun and having to deal with that. But basically my job, I guess, on the ride was to divide my brothers,
To keep them apart.
keep them apart from each other.
Did y'all's folks swat you? I know we
Oh,
briefly
heck.
mentioned this the other day. Did they turn around and try to swing at you? And you
Well, they would swat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Them.
usually pretty innocent.
Oh,
She saw the 2 older brothers getting whipped, and she's like,
I don't want any part of that. Daddy just had to look at me, and it was taken care of.
there's an art to dodging, when you're in that back seat. H probably.
Probably.
yeah.
There's an art to
There's
you
an
get
art.
just
Yeah.
out of arm's
Get out of
reach.
the way.
But then they just get worse mad.
Yes.
And then they pull over.
Yeah.
Rolling there with you, so that's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Interesting.
probably got some good stories riding with his family.
I'm intrigued
They had some-
that y'all missed the same exit every
Yeah.
year.
We We were laughing. We were at Mom and Dad's last week, and we were laughing about it. I was like, "Why did we get lost every time?" It was around Columbia, South Carolina, going to Hilton Head. Always. I don't know why. Daddy always, I think, second guessed himself about which exit. Of course, you didn't have GPS and all that back then.
Yep.
Normally, I was the map reader, which shocks my husband, but Mom couldn't read a map. So usually, I was the map reader, unless I was, really little. I didn't, but yeah, I don't know why we always got lost.
So funny though.
And we would stop at a Stuckey's. That was a tradition. We'd stop at Stuckey's, and I always got a pecan log. Oh, love their pecan log. We get a couple of them and take them on vacation.
Pecans when I was young, and so I always wanted one of those, but I wouldn't eat it because I didn't like pecans.
Yeah, well, that's a very good reason
like
not
pecans?
to get it.
I like pecans. I like pecan pie now.
Pecan pancakes, they're pretty good too.
Hey, let me tell you what. When Cracker Barrel in the winter comes out with their chocolate pecan pie, it's like a drug. I mean, it's
Really?
like, have you had that?
No. Mm-mm. Sounds good, though.
Try the chocolate pecan pie at Cracker
Their
Barrel.
pecan pancakes are good there. So, yeah. So, that was our kind of what we
Is that
did.
like an endorsement? Do we make money off that?
Right?
I don't know. I'm going to contact them.
Cracker Barrel. Chocolate pie.
Hey, Steve, tell us about your escapades.
A couple of things just come to mind. One, for some reason, we kept going to Clearwater, Florida, which was like 13 hours.
Like, why did you go there?
And I remember, so there's 4 of us, and then we'd pick up my mom and dad, which were not the smallest of people.
You went where?
Clearwater, Florida.
Okay.
Which is all the way at the
It's
bottom.
like 13-hour drive, literally 13-hour drive.
Hey, isn't that on the Gulf of America?
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
Sorry.
So we would go, and I remember picking up my grandparents, and somebody would always have to sit on the trunk to make it close. I mean, it was like waiting to explode. And then there was the big car, or whatever. It was kind of probably like a Bonneville or something too. And the 3 guys are up front. So Dad's driving, my grandpa's over here, and I'm in the middle. Air conditioning is blowing like crazy because all the women in the back are hot. And I'm like, my gosh, I'm freezing to death. And you can't do anything. You can't move. You're just sitting there for 13 hours. It's kind of ridiculous. But the funny thing there, my mom's dad, he would just make up words.
He was a trip.
He would just make up words, and we'd get so tickled at him. And it's like, the other day I went to the Pick and Peck. You mean the Pick and Pay? Yeah, whatever that's called. And then you see, a new foreign car coming down, and he would try to do the accent, Toyota, Toyota, Datsun, and you're just like, what in the world is going on here? But a little later in life, I think we outgrew everybody being able to ride in one car, and we got the CB radios.
Oh, yeah.
Got CB radios. And my dad was always, he was the guy that had cows. So you had to have a CB, had to have a call name, right? So Dad would be like, "Hey, this is the cow man, come back." And my granddad's in the other car, and he's like, "This is the big steer." And we about ran off the road laughing. We're like, "You know what a steer is, right?" Well, I just think, I might as well be a steer, all that. But it was those are
It makes sense now.
those are exciting
It
trips.
makes a lot more sense when you hear his family stories.
There's I remember a lot of gut aches and a lot of pulling off quicklies, find the bathroom quick, I'm about to die, those kind of things.
Right.
But the one I look back on as an adult and a parent and think, what the heck were y'all thinking? We all decided, some friends of Mom and Dad's and all of us, were going to Point Mallard, Alabama. And Dad's friend, had a pickup truck, and he had a aluminum top camper on the back of the pickup truck. And he went down to one of the stores, carpet stores, and bought a bunch of foam rubber and put that in there so that it would be as tall as the wheel well. And then he had a piece of carpet laid back in there. And his mother, who had to be in her 80s, crawled up in the back of that thing with one of those old collapsing chairs, the ones that you click, 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 and then you could come back out. She rode in that, and me and my friend in the back of this thing going down 65 South. I mean, just no air conditioning. We're sweating. Of course, we had, we thought we were cool because we're not having to ride in the parents' car, but we were riding with Grandma. So we had our probably transistor radio cranked as high as it would go so that you could try to hear something. but I'm like, we could have died. I mean, if that car had gone off the road, we would have all died. It would just been a mangled mess. But I do remember that, we got bored. We got bored riding in this, and you literally could not hear anything.
Oh, yeah. Be too loud.
But we also had all this bag full of candy and snacks back there. And we thought it'd be a great idea. Now, go to the back of the truck, lift up the back end of that camper, and take these round, like lemon heads and all those things, and drop them out and watch them bounce on the road and hit other cars.
Right.
And people were coming by cussing and blowing the horn, and we just thought that was great.
Right? He always comes through, doesn't he?
You know, people give Arkansans a hard time. And I'm thinking, you need to come to Greenbrier, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and
right?
hang out a little bit.
It's just the Joneses, I think.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Something just occurred to me while I'm hearing all this stuff. At the bottom of your screen, if you're YouTubing here, there's a place for comments. Jot down some of your things you did when you were a kid driving a car. We'll talk about them next time.
Yeah, that's fun.
Jot them down. It'd be interesting to hear anyway.
Yeah.
I told that story to somebody, and this lady heard it, and she looked at me and she goes, I thought we were the only ones that did anything like that. She said, we rode in the back of a pickup truck with no cover to an Atlanta Braves game. Dad and the other man sat up front. The women and the children in the back of the pickup truck going
Down the interstate. Yeah. It's just,
hair blown all over.
it used to not be a thing.
Oh my gosh. And she said, we were about deaf when we got there, and it just wore you out because the wind's whipping you, and the two men were driving up front, with the air conditioning, radio.
Yeah.
Good grief.
I was laughing. I was like,
Hey, those trips to Yakima, Washington? I can recall being I had to have been a little older than a toddler. I wouldn't remember. I can recall standing beside Daddy with my arm around him while he's driving down the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Standing in the seat doing that.
my mom was notorious for being late to work. And I remember sitting in her lap, steering while she's putting mascara on. Yeah. We should have all died.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the pastor of my church.
Yeah,
There you go. Aren't you proud?
Come visit us,
Aren't you proud?
it's really fun.
because it's really not much different in the pulpit at times than what you just heard. Anyway, good little front porch visit. That one got a little exciting
Fun.
there. But, thanks to the Jones family.
Coming through.
Hey, we'll take a break, come back, and talk about some stuff we found in the Bible.
Are you tired of blending in with the crowd? Do you want to make a statement that says, I love baptisms and fashion? Then visit MikeTheBaptist.com today and order an MTB t-shirt or hoodie just in time for spring. MTB gear isn't just a t-shirt, it's a movement, literally. You'll be moving through life this spring and summer with a new confidence, a new style, and the occasional confused look from strangers. Mike the Baptist shirts, hoodies, and onesies come in all sizes. Yes, even baby-sized, because who says baby can't preach? MTB gear will give you the confidence to stand out in a crowd or a baptismal pool in colors as bold as your beliefs and sizes as big as your faith. What are you waiting for? Stand out. Be bold. Order online now at MikeTheBaptist.com/merchandise. Get your holy swag on now at MikeTheBaptist.com/merchandise. Not responsible for extreme amounts of attention or spontaneous moments of self-confidence.
Hey, you know what? The Bible is a very interesting book. What do you find interesting, HD? Look, you're a pastor and you're fooling with that book all the time, but is there something that's still kind of very interesting to you about it that's kind of...
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing to me is that I don't care how much you study it, you're always learning something new, and it'll speak to you in a different way than you've ever seen before. So, I've heard it said it's the only book where when you really get into it, the author's sitting beside you. So,
You hear people say that all the time, there's something that's new every time,
Yeah.
but that's actually true.
yeah.
If you open your head up and allow yourself to think about it,
Yep.
it usually is something new.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, aside from that, why don't you tell us about what this ongoing study is
Yeah.
you've been doing about Samuel?
We've been in 1 Samuel, and last week we kind of ended where Saul has lost the monarchy. He's not been obedient to God, and he's lost the monarchy. And so this week we kind of get in a little bit more into the story of David. David won't be king for a few years. That's kind of an interesting thing that you learn in the Bible, is that the year he's ordained as the king, it'll be about 20 to 25 years before he actually ever sits on the throne. But sort of in the meantime, as David is growing up, we get this really cool story in there about David and Goliath. Most of you know the story of David and Goliath. Goliath was the Philistine, and he was an agitator. I mean, literally came out to the edge of the battlefield, 9 foot tall, something ridiculous. I mean, he was a huge man, and the Israelites were scared of him. They were scared to go fight against Goliath. And it kind of became a mano a mano, just one guy. He said, I'll fight your best man, and the whole battle will be up to the two of us. And nobody would go and fight him. And then David finally goes, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I thought about specifically this issue of Goliath being the agitator, that he just stood at the edge of the battlefield, and he talked down to Israel. He was an agitator of God's people. And I thought, what is it in our culture today? Where do we feel like the agitator is? Don't name a specific name, but what are the agitating things that people are talking against Christianity or making fun of God's people?
Are you talking about things that are provoking?
Yeah.
Or just
like provoking, agitating,
like picking right directly at?
Yes.
Attitude.
Yeah.
Well, the culture, obviously. I mean, the culture, seems like our culture in America rocks along and everybody just accepts it until something comes up about Christianity.
Yeah.
That kind of challenges you to think about how you're living in the culture.
Yeah.
But then the culture does pick at specifically Christians nowadays.
Yeah.
I guess I could say this. I'm going to, whether I can or not.
I think you have the right to edit your own conversation.
Well, I've done some promotions
Right.
On the internet lately.
Mm-hmm.
And a specific place I've done a promotion, if you try to add keywords like Christian, faith, belief, you can't use those.
Really?
That's interesting.
You can use them in descriptions and about what you're up to, which you'll see on our stuff. We have descriptions, but in order for you to target specific audiences, you can't.
Oh.
Because it's explained as though that's because nobody wants to promote a certain religion. And I wondered about that. So I typed in some of those
I was
keywords.
going to say, did you try some of the others? Yeah.
I typed in atheist,
Yeah.
and that's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just our culture, that's what I'm trying to say, is it's like our culture specifically kind of aims at the Christian.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any
Just
thoughts
thought I'd say
on
that.
agitators?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of goes along with the culture, but I don't know. Do we want to talk about the topic of homosexuality?
I guess we can.
Well, it's a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean, just
topic.
because I think, their whole motto is that, love is love. And so they want to portray us, the church, as haters
Right.
of a certain group of people. And we're not.
Right.
We're not, but that's what they want to take on. So I think we get attacked a lot of times as being haters and as having hate speech. But the reality is it would be much more hateful to know someone struggling in that sin and not try and help them get out of it and help them to see the truth of Scripture. But that's not what culture wants to do. Culture wants us to, be okay. And I'm okay with homosexual people. I mean, I know several people. I had, kids in my life that grew up with my children, and I love those people. I still do. My heart breaks over their struggle with that sin and the fact that they've given into that sin and the consequences of that sin. But I still love that person. But I think culture wants to attack us as hating a whole group, and it's really not the people. It has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with the sin. And if we believe what Scripture says, just like every other sin, we have to stand against them.
Culture doesn't understand the true Christian.
Yeah.
Culture has a meme of a Christian.
Yeah.
Kind of this picture in their head, but
And they're always crazy. Like on TV shows,
Right.
they're always a nutcase.
right. So you're bringing up a specific topic about something that we kind of believe. We have our belief about some things like that, and we didn't just pull it out of thin air. We took it out of that book of scriptures
Right.
that tells us there's something not quite right about that. But like you said, I can't name you one human being that I know personally who hates anybody
Right.
or who wants harm on anybody.
Right.
I pay attention to politics. Try not to talk about it here, but I pay attention to politics. And the same thing is going on in our culture about conservative people. You can add the word conservative Christian because a ton of conservatives are Christians.
Right.
And the two kind of go together in a belief system. But like if you go to Facebook and look at the memes and things that people are putting up that are blasting the conservative mindset, it doesn't take long to realize they don't have a clue what conservative Christian means.
Right.
They have a meme idea of a thing that they've invented of how people are. And I'll bring the term up, MAGA. And that may be offensive to people, but stop and think about why that would be offensive to you. Why would the term "Make America Great Again," why would that be offensive to you? There's nothing offensive about that, but there's been this thing created, this image created that has been fed into the minds of people who are not informed at all about what that means or why anybody would say that.
Right.
The same with Christians. Christians are being, this is the Goliath standing up on the hill, the culture pointing back at Christians if they rise up any. If the Christians just stay silent, the culture moves right along, gets worse all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I think that it brings up a good point is that, we have a lot of people that want to say, everybody's thoughts are okay. Everybody has a right to think there's freedom in our country. You have a right to think this and a right to think that. But what you find is that there's really a narrow mindset of open dialogue. If you don't agree with me, then they're going to shout you down and push you down. And, that's an agitation. And basically because, kind of like Goliath, they don't want to listen to truth. And again, we as Christians, we shouldn't just label people. And, I'll broaden that and say, it's really easy to pick on homosexuality as a sin if you don't struggle with it. But what about all the other sexual sins that the rest of us struggle with? Right. And, it's not a way to beat up on people, but it is a way for us to go, hey, we need to deal with this, and we need to lovingly talk about how can we be better. If Saul lost his kingship over obedience, over a worship practice, in essence, how can we as mankind lose a lot of blessings that God has for us because we're not willing to follow his rules and his regulations about a lot of things? But it's that agitation part, and it's, I think probably one of the best ways I can think about this is that several years ago, somebody asked Dr. Billy Graham if he was offended when he went to a movie and somebody, an actor or actress used the Lord's name in vain, cursed his God. And he smiled and he said, well, in my belief system, there's only one holy God and there's one main enemy. And the reason he cusses my God is because he's the only real God out there. Yep. And, there's some point to that, to understand that Christians, you're gonna experience people being agitated against you. Jesus said, the world didn't like me, it's not going to like you either. If you live this life as a follower, there's going to be people that don't like you. But it doesn't mean that we have to shut down or go live in a monastery somewhere or just quit being part of the culture. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight the fight, and again, that's not trying to be anarchist, but just, standing up for truth, And David was willing to do that in his day. He was willing to stand up for the truth. And it's kind of an interesting scenario here. You've got this 9-foot giant and probably this 4-foot something, 5-foot something, a young man who was willing to stand up against Goliath. It's a very familiar passage of scripture. But one of the things that's striking is that he was more confident in his God than I think a lot of Christians are. And what causes us to lose confidence in God?
Well, sometimes when he doesn't fix things the way we think he ought to fix them.
Or as quickly as.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a big thing.
I guess we wonder sometimes too if he's, You know, it's interesting because David knew that God was on his side, but he still picked up 5 rocks or so.
Yeah.
Instead of 1.
Yeah.
He still picked up 5 or so. You know, you could say that maybe he didn't believe, but to me, I'm just thinking, no, he was just kind of smart there, you know. I don't know. I think it's I don't know that I ever doubt God, but I doubt myself pretty regularly.
Sure.
Right.
And it seems like David, a guy like David, that story, he believed enough to stand up and try to do something correctly about it. But I think a lot of people, whether it's in like the political world or the religious world that we're talking about, people are afraid to be beat down. And people just naturally you don't want somebody to beat up on you, and it feels that way, I guess, to the Christian, especially nowadays in our country. We feel more like a minority in a way than we used to, when that's not the truth. The majority of Americans are still Christian people.
Yeah.
But more and more you don't want. Now, recently, I think there seems to be a new freedom coming back for us to say what we believe, because I think more of us are saying things now and realizing we're not going to get beat up as bad as we used to. There's still a part of the culture that's going to try to hammer you and make you stop talking about what you believe. But you know, the topic you brought up earlier, you are just as entitled to have that opinion and belief as the people who don't have that. And that's what's missing nowadays in culture in general. I will say this, not just because I am a Christian. Christian people are tolerant in the true sense of the word. The people that want to say they're tolerant are the least tolerant people on the planet.
It's crazy.
It's so odd that it's that way. But part of me wants to think there needs to be a little more David in all of us.
Absolutely.
Who are willing to head that way, to confront some of that, you know?
Well, even to have, used to be on college campuses, that was a place for open dialogue and open discussion.
Yeah.
Even if you vehemently disagreed. And politics was the same thing. I mean, there's historically politicians who stood on the opposite end of the aisle, but then they'd go play golf together.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've kind of gotten to this place in our culture where if I don't like your idea, I hate you.
Right.
I mean, that's where it's getting to. It's like, we even call it hate speech.
Yeah.
Hate speech. Well, I mean, if somebody wants to call me a skinny, ugly guy, okay, but that doesn't hurt me. Now, you shoot me or knock me down, that hurts me, right? People, whoever said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words do hurt.
They do, yeah.
But
they make you mad.
Again, people have a right to their opinions on stuff, and that's where we struggle. I struggle with, we should all walk away from the conversation looking at each other going, you have the right to be wrong. and you should feel that way, and what we're trying to share is truth. Obviously, other people are trying to share their truth, and then we should, have the freedom to decipher that and live our life accordingly. But we've gotten to the place where if I don't think it's okay to put a needle in your arm or, have on-demand abortion with no questions, that we're haters. We hate, we're causing all these people to die, because we're hating them. And I'm like, well, are we? We're just really raising some questions of maybe there's some other ways to think through some things. There's some other, and I think a big part is you gotta be willing to stand up for those ideals while not necessarily, slinging stones at each other, but stand up and say, you know what, all I'm trying to get you to see is a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say it again, everybody's entitled to their own perspective. I mean, nobody that I know argues with that.
Right.
I
mean, let's look at something silly. I mean, the NCAA March Madness is going on. Man, there are people that are adamant about their team, and I think it's okay to go into an arena and the orange team is against the blue team. I hope the Wildcats lose, But you know what? If you're my friend, and even if you're not my friend, but the Wildcats won and Tennessee lost, I don't need to go get in the car and get my gun and shoot you just because you disagreed with who the better team was. But we have become so intolerant of each other, and realizing that, you know, it is okay to be different.
It is.
It's okay to be different. But, you know, one of the things that God's word teaches us is that we've got to have grace and truth. You can't just have one or the other. And I think where people who I would say call themselves more liberal, they really side on the air of grace. You know, it's like, you know, love is love. Everything's good. Everybody's right in their own opinion. Just leave them alone. Let them do their thing. But if you don't give people truth in that, then you're just leaving them in a mess.
It's a slippery slope for a Christian to share what they believe is truth with somebody without offending them. It's a hard thing to do. But I guess it comes back to that the way you live out in front of other people says more than what you can preach to them. And what's the point with talking about Goliath taunting? I guess.
I mean, I think just the biggest point for our Christians that are listening to us, and just an encouragement, you know, David will ultimately win that battle, but I want them to understand, we don't think about this in Scripture. Did David, I mean, he picked 5 stones. You said that earlier. I heard one pastor said he picked 5 stones because Goliath had 4 brothers, and he wanted those guys to know he's coming.
He was ready.
He's coming after them too. Who knows why he picked 5 stones? We'll learn that one day in heaven. But you know, one of the things we don't really read about or think about is, I wonder, even that night, we know he slew Goliath, and it was a battle, a bloody battle. He cut his head off, you know, so it's pretty gruesome. But I wonder when he laid down that night, if he thought, oh my gosh, I bet Goliath's mama hates me. PTSD, the emotional side of taking a life, the emotional side of standing up to fight, you know. So just be aware that, you know, David wins the battle. God used David. It was for God's glory. That's a good reminder to us. But just be aware that when we stand for truth, it's not always going to feel good, and you're going to have some doubts and questions in your mind. Did I do the right thing? Should I have said it different? Should I have done this different? But, you know, we still have to stand up for what's right, and there definitely can be a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, try to be as loving as we possibly can. I think one of the ways that we do a better job of that is get to know the person. Don't just argue about ideas. Get to know the person. And you may find that, you know, I will never, if I had a buddy of mine that was an atheist, I will never agree that he is right on that. But I can still love him.
Oh, yeah. You can still golf with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Eat dinner at their house, you know, be friends, you know. But we have to be careful that we don't beat the person down like they have no value.
You don't want to be a Bible thumper.
You do not want to be a Bible thumper.
It's not effective.
Which goes back to what you're trying to accomplish on our front porch visits. One of our biggest problems is we don't like our neighbors because we don't really know our neighbors.
This is true.
If you knew your neighbor, you'd probably cut them a little more slack.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the people that you think you don't like, if you ever actually get around them a little bit, it's kind of funny how that works. You might like them. Yep. I mean, look at all of you all.
Right.
At this little church I go to, I thought when I first came there, no way. No, that's a stretch. Yep, good talk. What's your summation of the whole thing today?
My whole summary is, one, got to be obedient to what God calls. No, God fights for you, with you. He's out there ahead of you. Also know it's not always easy, but know in the end he wins. And when he wins, we win.
Good enough.
Yep.
What would you say to the non-church person that might have stumbled on here about, why would they be interested in all this stuff?
Yeah, they're probably maybe scratching their head a little bit about going, wait a minute, who's right and who's wrong? You know, I would say be open-minded and just call out to God. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, God, if you're real, show me. It's a great place to start. God, if you're real, show me. He loves you enough that he'll begin to show you, and try it. You might just like it.
Give it a shot, as we often say here.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Give
really
it a
have
shot.
nothing to lose.
You
Give it
know.
a shot.
Right.
No, and it seems like it's at that point where there's nothing left to lose that you often do give a shot.
Absolutely. Yep.
I have my hand raised mentally inside. Well, mentally would be inside, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
Thanks for clarifying that, though.
We're going to take a break, come back, play Inny or Outty. Hope you stick with us. We will challenge you.
Hey everybody, it's time to play America's almost favoriteest new game show, Inny or Outty, where we challenge our guests to figure out if a phrase we give them is actually in the Bible or out of the Bible. Sharpen your wits, guest. You're about to be in the hot seat of Bible stuff, because you're the next contestant on Inny or Outty. Here's Mike.
Well, you know, HD, I was thinking the other day. Actually, I didn't have to think. It showed up on the computer that it was about 3 years ago
But
that you and I got in here and did the first. Well, there's a debate about the first Mike the Baptist, because our buddy Lee Murphy, I had him and some other buddies of mine
Right.
in here to do kind of a test on the whole Mike the Baptist idea, and we kind of made one. It actually became an episode, but the first official episode was with you and I. It was kind of just an interview format at that time. So anyway, there was a debate, but that was 3 years ago.
that's crazy.
It is really, it's really crazy.
All the time we've wasted, right?
Oh, the time. And how,
All the hours
and how
of talking.
grandly we've wasted.
Right.
Speaking of wasting some time,
Right.
we're going to play Inny or Outty. I love Inny or Outty.
It's America's most
Almost.
fundational.
Almost. It is funnication.
Yep.
I also came across that artwork. I need to splash that up there because HD came up with that word, funnucational.
Yeah. I still like Shrinkle.
Shrinkle, Shrinkle, I saw an old promo and I'd forgotten about the word Shrinkle. And maybe we can get back, now that we're getting more people involved, new subscribers, maybe we can get a new thing going about the word Shrinkle. Because if you didn't know, the first year of Mike the Baptist, we did this thing where we wanted to get that in the dictionary.
Yep.
In fact, we called Webster's one day. Was it Jason that we had call?
Yep.
Jason.
And in the middle of calling, he realized he was giving out his personal cell number over the World Wide Web. It was funny. Anyway, Shrinkle. We'll get back on that. But today, on Inny or Outty, I'm going to challenge you two once. HD, you're going to challenge us two once.
Okay.
I'll start. There's a phrase, all that glitters is not gold.
Oh, wow.
Is that in the Bible?
All that glitters is not gold.
Is that scripture? It sure sounds like it does.
It does sound like a.
Hey, look at this. The buzzer. 2 episodes, and that's the first time the buzzer's been played.
Wow.
Okay, just want to point that out.
Like glitters.
That's called getting buzzed on Mike the Baptist.
That's right. By the way, that's there if you don't know. That's there if you get too churchy, we buzz you, but we kind of forgot. Okay,
Either that or we didn't get too churchy.
Yeah, pretty lowbrow.
we didn't get real churchy.
Yeah.
All the
All that
glitters.
is not gold.
Is that in the Bible? Is that an Inny? Or is that an Outty? I'll take a drink of coffee while y'all discuss it.
Is that a Kenny Rogers song?
Oh, that's the Gatlin Brothers here.
Gatlin Brothers.
All the gold in California.
That's it. That's it. All that glitters.
It's not gold.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot in there about gold.
Right.
There's a bunch in
The
there.
streets of gold.
Yeah.
Gold
the
cows or
place.
something.
Yeah, golden calf. Yeah.
The temple and the tabernacle. And
Golden Calf, wasn't that a restaurant?
That's golden
That's
corral.
Gold Corral. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
all that glitters is not gold. Oh, man.
I think that's a song lyric. It should be. Or I shouldn't say it
But
should
you know,
be in the Bible.
It should be.
About highways and byways, and it was in a song,
I know.
but it also is in the Bible. So I'm kind of feeling.
All that, you're feeling like it's an inning?
No, I feel like it's an outing.
That's what I feel.
I feel like it's an outing, but I don't.
We can be losers together.
Now I'm like, second guessing because of last week, because of highways and byways. I think it's an outing. All that glitters is not gold. That doesn't sound.
The way she said that.
I think
I
it's
think it's an Outty.
That doesn't sound very
very-
biblical.
It doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't.
okay. Well, I think we're gonna go with it's an Outty.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Why? Just because she persuaded you?
exactly.
'Cause that's what I was picking up over here.
Yeah.
He said it first.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I think it's Larry Gatlin.
No, theirs was all the gold in California. All the gold in
There's-
California.
There's a line that says
Somewhere that says.
everything that glitters is not gold.
Oh, there is, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Glitters is not gold. That is in that song.
It is.
Interesting.
Is it? But is it a quote from the Bible
Is
or
it?
not?
All that
We're
glitters.
saying no. We're saying it's an Outty.
You saying it's an Outty?
Yeah.
You're right. It's an Outty. It's from Shakespeare.
Oh wow.
Let me be intelligent for you for just a fleeting moment. It's from The Merchant of Venice, Act 2, Scene 7.
Wow.
Never
You want to
heard
look
of
that up?
So there you go.
There you go.
From Larry
It
Gatlin.
was a Shakespeare. Yeah, I'd forgotten because while y'all were talking, I was thinking, is that in a song somewhere? And it's actually in the song I was talking about.
There you go.
Okay, HC.
All right. My wife reminded me that I used to do these lists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
notice
those are
I have
popular.
the Bible.
Book of
Oh, it is. It's an actual book.
It's an actual book, and so I'm going to give you 4 occupations.
Okay.
4 occupations.
That would be like jobs, right?
Jobs.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Dumb it down for it.
Yeah.
And
This fun educational.
I'm just going to tell you that some of these you're going to question and wonder,
Okay.
Hey,
but it's in this book,
Yeah.
and it has a scripture reference. So
Yes.
I'm not sure if that reference is going to say these words exactly because I haven't had time to look all those up. But we're just going to play. It's in here, Outty. All
I'm
right.
confused about what you're going to ask
Right.
us now.
I don't know. I'm thinking, well, if it's in there, does that mean it's in
Right.
definitely?
All right. So here's the 4 words.
Okay.
I'll
Occupation.
need to write those down.
So you'll
You'll
remember
be asking. Yeah, you'll be asking them again. Embalmer.
embalmer.
Yes.
Okay.
Detective.
Detective.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's 2.
Caulker.
Halker.
Caulker. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Odd word.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Can't wait hardly.
a tailor.
Taylor.
So there are your 4 words. An embalmer,
Okay.
a detective,
Okay.
a caulker, a tailor.
Are those
Embalmer.
well? Okay.
Yes,
What
they're
was the
words.
question
Are
though?
those
Which one of
occupations
those occupations? Which one of those occupations is not in the Bible?
not
Which of those is an Audi?
Is an Outty. Which of these words is not in the Bible?
Wait a minute. So
detective?
if we say one is an Audi,
It's not in the Bible.
oh, then we'd either be right or wrong.
Yeah,
on-
we're
okay.
picking which one.
Some of these questions are
Not-
tricky.
I know they are.
So embalmer.
Embalmer.
Do we think? Let's deal with them one at a time. Do we think embalmer is Inny or Outty? I think that one's in.
I think so because people were dying pretty regular back then,
And they were
and they were
maybe mummifying and doing all
yeah,
that.
they were stuffing them and stuff, and I mean they were doing that back then. They had
Okay.
something that they had something they did.
Okay, so we'll say embalmer's there. What was the next one?
Okay. Susan's managing this to keep it together.
Detective.
No, that's the one when he said the word detective. I thought.
I don't know. I would
You
think
thought
it'd
what?
be in there.
Well, I thought that was kind of odd. You would think detective?
Caulker's not odd. A caulker?
Well, they had to caulk a lot, I'm sure.
Why? Why would they? Why did they even have caulk? Why would you have a caulker?
Well, they would. Maybe they didn't call it caulk, but they had to.
Filling gap.
Yeah. But
What's the
see,
other-
detective. The reason detective didn't sound right was because it's like a. Well, I don't know. It just didn't sound right.
Well, I'm thinking they had crimes. Didn't they have to have somebody that went and investigated?
But they just like cut your hands off right there.
What if they embalmed the
They
wrong
didn't
guy?
even investigate you.
That's what it is. I never heard. I don't recall hearing anything
That they
about
investigated.
investigating anything.
Well, that word. They investigated Christ, whether he.
Well, except for that.
There's other people. that they
But
Except the
But-
central figure of all the Bible.
yeah, the biggest story in it. But now I don't recall them hiring a detective. What's the other word?
Caulker,
Okay, that's only 3, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Embalmer.
There's another
Taylor.
one. A Taylor. I don't know about Taylor either. Of course, they had people that made
Not
clothes.
Swift.
Yeah, they did, and
you had-
everybody probably couldn't, because everybody probably didn't have a sewing machine. Well, would that not be true?
Nobody had a sewing machine.
Like maybe nobody.
That one guy with the caulk gun, he was pretty important.
I think there was a Taylor.
I do too. I think,
Okay, so we're to detective and caulker.
yeah.
All right.
Well, I think there's plenty of caulking to do.
Okay.
But
Against
now-
my better judgment, I'll
wait a
go
minute.
with detective.
Wait a minute though. Is the question, is the word in there or the occupation?
The occupation is what he said.
Yes.
The
Occupation.
I got to stick with detective. I mean, let's see. I need to say it the way you said HD because it changed his mind. I'm thinking maybe it's not in there.
It's very persuasive there, Michael.
It wasn't quite as good.
All
But,
right, I'll be a peacekeeper and go with Michael, but against my better judgment.
so we're saying Outty.
We're saying detective,
Isn't
Detective.
Outty.
not an occupation in Scripture.
I'm a little scared, but detective is an Outty.
Is that the wrong one?
It's quite an interesting list we have here.
Uh-huh.
Taylor is in the Bible.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, he's taking the long way.
Yeah.
It's making us sweat here.
Caulker is also in the Bible.
Oh, you were wrong.
Yes.
I was wrong. Okay.
Yep. Embalmer is in the Bible, and detective is not.
Look
All right.
at you.
Yeah.
Are
You're
you
right.
your tactic of persuasion?
There you go. You were right, because I was really thinking you were wrong. So there you go. I'm glad
Well,
I'm with you.
I was right, but I was nervous because I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Did we win?
Yeah,
We
We
won.
won.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking caulker.
I know, right?
Well, I can see where, but now in our day and time, when we think caulk, we think of a caulk gun and a tube
Right.
from Home Depot, where you snip the end and
Yeah.
caulk. And I'm thinking they just, they
Pitch
bet
it.
some mud.
Like some more dirt. And,
Pitch and tar,
Yeah, and stuck it in
I
there.
guess so.
So,
But I can't believe
The ark.
that's not in there. You would think people would investigate when somebody,
The ark had to be.
like you said, did they not investigate? They just chopped your hands off
that's
and you
what
were
I
done.
think. I think they said you did it, and
Maybe it was a
pretty
different
much-
word. They took them to the judge or the magistrate.
But you think it
Yeah,
would be
yeah. They took them before somebody.
Yeah.
it'd still be a,
But the detective,
I don't know.
means somebody went out to get all the facts and gather all of that. But it seems like they did it different
so
now.
maybe so. Okay.
They just brought
They
you before
investigated
somebody
it with the
and
detective. Okay.
2 wins again.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay,
Red
so
letter day.
Awesome.
interesting. All right,
Weeks in a
so
row.
hey, if you have an Inny or Outty suggestion, put it in the comments down there. We'll read it and we might use it.
Right?
It might be more intelligent than what you've
You
been
have to
hearing
dig a
here.
little bit. For after 3 years, we have really
We've dug in there,
hit the
but
high
Yeah.
points.
there's still a lot out there.
And just for those who maybe haven't listened, cat is not in the Bible.
Yeah, don't
Neil-
bring it up.
Neil likes to bring that one up about
Don't
every
bring up cats.
6 weeks.
The cat is not in the Bible.
Look it up. Okay, we'll be back to tell you goodbye.
Oh, wow. What a great contestant and a fine sport today on Inny or Outty, America's almost favorite new game show. Study up, future guest people. You're next in the hot seat for Inny or Outty.
We're back to tell you goodbye. And we're glad you came and hung out with us and got to this point. And if you are at this point and you're hearing this, I'm very impressed. But anyway, have a good time. Susan Jones, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
We're a couple of weeks here and kind of brightening the place up a little bit. And always glad to have you.
Thank
You're
you.
a pretty smart person. Good to have smart people in the mix. H.T. Jones, husband of the smart person, Susan.
Right?
Always good to see you. Always enjoy it. Thanks for leading us in the Bible things in the middle here, and always good talks there. I'm Mike the Baptist. We're happy to have you here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Go to the website, et cetera. Leave a comment. Eat your vegetables, et cetera. And come back next week. We'll do this all again. And in the meantime, please don't forget that we are all just Christians.
Trying not to.
Cuss.
To use that persuasive thing.
Cuss.
We won't, Susan. See you next time.
Mike the Baptist.